Welcome, guys, to the third episode of the Eddie Donan Show. I'm here with a very special guest, good friend of mine, Robert Malcolm. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Eddie, man. Good to see you, man. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. It's always good to reconnect.
Absolutely.
So Robert has been in the mortgage industry for 20 years in many different roles. Actually, how I met Robert's an interesting story, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure we'll get on air. But why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself. What do you do? Who are you? Where are you here?
Geez. Gotta love Eddie's energy. So I am the Senior Manager of Sales and Partnerships at Perch, a cutting-edge technology firm that just happens to specialize in mortgages. What we like to do is we like to really look at reducing the blockades and the challenges facing Canadians getting into home ownership today. So that means anybody from new to Canada or somebody who's just been in the country for a long time and finally wants to get in. And obviously I'm here is because we work with great realtors such as yourself, Eddie, and we're here to have a discussion about the market.
Crazy headlines out there. Robert, before we get into that, you've been in the industry for close to 20 years in different roles. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well,
walk us through those 20 years.
I mean, I got my humble start actually doing collections at City Financial.
Oh, that's fun.
No, it's not fun collecting on Home Depot cards. Yeah, exactly. Mappin's, Jewelers, credit cards, Home Depot as well. Left there, went over to the mortgage side. And then that was mortgage customer service, mortgage funding, a little bit of fulfillment. Then got laid off.
Oh.
I know that did happen.
Happens,
yeah, no, that does happen. And then I kind of started making my rounds throughout the big five, so TD, Scotia, those guys. And then from there, I ended up at a place called Equitable.
Yep.
And then Equitable gave me tremendous opportunity to go and grow. So started out as a coordinator there, deal coordinator, and moved up to operations. I don't even know what the title is anymore. And then from there, went into fulfillment, dabbled in underwriting. They said you had way too much personality to do either of those roles. And they said, go be a BDM. And so that embarked on like the last basically 7-8 years of my life. From there, I went and joined another bank called Haventree.
Yep.
And then from Haventree, I went to a lovely place called My Closing, where I was the VP of sales. So really have that great background on the legal side on the back end. Good. And then from there, just as with most startups, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. Didn't work out. So decided to go join my very good friend, Alex Leduc, who's a former Equitable employee as well, and join him at Perch and take on the wonderful world of mortgages.
Equitable represent. And that's actually how I met Rob. So Rob was a BDM. As many of you guys know, my mom does mortgages. So that's how we ended up connecting, becoming friends, and kind of follow his track. What I like about Robert is that he has that experience. You know, you've been in underwriting, you've been a BDM, you've been fulfillment, like you know it all, man. And I find that you have that knowledge that can really help guide clients the right direction. That's kind of what I like about your experience personally.
Well, you know that, and I seem to have worked every other job in between while working for the bank. So, you know, I did a spell as an admin assistant for Rivera, and that comes in handy on the B side because you have a lot of PSWs that are buying homes. Yeah. So you can actually speak to how they get paid, and you can explain why the schedule doesn't always make sense and why one week is 36 hours and the next one is 47. So
that's right. And what I find really about mortgages in general is that sometimes a lot of us have the tendency to just jump into the bank. So before we get into, you know, the whole nitty-gritty of this, what's the difference between working with a mortgage broker or me just going and walking into my branch and trying to get a mortgage? What's the advantage of that?
Well,
what does that look like?
Well, the simple answer is when you go to the bank is for the bank. Mm-hmm. So let's say you go to a particular green bank.
Correct.
Since we don't want any lawsuits. You walk into a green bank, that particular bank is geared towards those products. Right. Now, when you're dealing with any mortgage broker, we all have access to that green bank, the red bank, the blue bank. We have access to something called monolines, which generally are not the big fives. These are kind of like the under tiers. So I like to always represent Equitable because they were so responsible for my growth in the industry. So Equitable, for example, they just acquired Concentra Bank. So now they're the 7th largest bank in Canada, up from I think was 9th or 10th. And so now you'll start to see Equitable all over the place. But ultimately, you have access to all these other lenders, and there's a product that will fit that client. Mm-hmm. So we have a better chance of finding something that fits the client's needs because not everybody is job letter, pay stub, T4.
Correct.
Some people are gig economy. Some people have Airbnb. Some people have rental income from overseas. Some people have rental income from the US.
Correct.
You know, some people aren't working and they were given an annuity, things like that. So the idea is that we're able to match you with the lender that's able to meet your needs, but most importantly, still get you the house.
For sure. That's what I believe in. You know, I gear a lot towards investors.
Right.
I have people with multiple properties wanting to get more properties. They're addicted to it, and can't blame them. And that's what I like about working with a mortgage broker. Personally, myself, when I'm buying, I always go through the mortgage brokers, with exception maybe once or twice, because I find that there's more options available. As you said, more products that might fit my criteria, my needs, that I might not be aware of. Like half the time that I connect somebody with you, they don't even know it's possible.
Yeah,
right. They've been declined by the green, by the red, and then they go and they get a little bit of hope, and it feels good, and they get the deal done, which is great.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of the deal. And what's nice is that there's a personalized contact. So at Perch, what we really specialize is what I call the mortgage advisory model. Mm-hmm. So whereas they might have an intro call with me to make sure that we understand exactly what the need is, our mortgage advisory team, top-notch people have been underwriting for years upon years upon years. Shout out also to Ali Hussein, who runs our mortgage advisory firm at Perch. Ultimately, those guys now will be able to walk the client through step by step. That hand-holding that is so crucial and critical, even in this market today, because you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, 100%. That's a great point. Okay, let's jump into it. The headlines, everyone's talking about the interest rates. You know what's going to come up. We can't have a podcast about mortgages without talking about the interest rates. All right, so obviously we know it's gone up. Let's not mention even specific figures because I forget. You know them by heart.
No, it's fine.
But that being said, how has that impacted, first of all, existing homeowners or people that are looking to get into the market, home buyers, renters, and investors? What's the impact of this for those three groups of people?
Well, I mean, if you're an existing homeowner and you are on a 5-year term and you locked it in as of January, February this year, you have no cares in the world. Life is wonderful. You are swimming around with the dolphins, the fishes. You're on the catamaran in the Caribbean, and you have no cares, no worries. You're okay.
I love that. You painted a picture.
I painted a picture. I like to do that. I'm a big imagery guy, Andy. So, if you're somebody who just renewed like last month, and you're coming off of maybe a 3.5% rate, whether it's fixed or variable, you're shedding a couple of tears because now that renewal rate probably doubled. Yeah. I've heard some crazy cases on the alternative side, which is a different subsection of mortgages. Mm-hmm. People are getting renewed in at 8%, 9%. And if you are an investor, it's getting a little hard to cash flow. Because if you think about it, take your standard cookie cutter, 3-bedroom, 3-bath. I'm going to pick on Durham. Yep. Love Durham. That house might go now, let's say $750,000, $800,000. You put down your 20%, your mortgage is still $35,000, correct, $36,000, $3,700 a month without property tax. Correct. And you're not going to rent the house for that. So you're at a loss. So you're almost dependent on the fact that, hey, either I'm going to eat the loss with the hope that prices are going to eventually go back up, which of course, shamelessly, all of us want them to.
They will.
They will in time, but it's just a matter of what that time frame looks like. Or are you now going to, what I see the smart investors doing is they're going for lower cost properties. So areas that weren't getting a lot of love before, like Belleville, North Bay. I just saw a brand new pre-construction 1+1 for $420,000.
That's like 10 years ago here.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez.
You have a time machine with these things.
Exactly. And I mean, they had all these incentives. So you had like free parking if you signed up by this date. You got discounted parking if you were willing to, give a little bit more up front. You got the design credit. So they really are pushing some of these out of the GTA places so that, one, units can still move, but two, that they're showing there's opportunity available for the investor who's interested in investing in this market. Yeah.
I agree, 100%. And even in the hot market, we were referring clients out to Windsor, to Sault Ste. Marie, to areas where there was good growth. The track record's there. They've actually been growing in price, but it still cash flows.
Yeah, and that
still makes money. You can still get a bungalow for $300,000 back in the day and rent it for $2,000.
Exactly.
So there's people who did that and they did really well because not everyone can catch up to the GTA market. 20% down, that's a lot of money.
Look, 20% of $1 million is the one that just drives me batty. That's $200,000. Yeah. You just can't get around it.
Plus your closing costs, like everything that that entails. So definitely. Now, I want to touch on something.
Sure.
I think the main problem that we have as investors, first-time home buyers specifically,
Sure.
it's affordability. Buyers in general, affordability. Now, the government back in 2018, it was implemented the stress test.
Oh, okay. Yep, you're right.
And that's because we were getting interest rates at 2.25%, 3%. And they were safeguarding us. I think it's a good thing, right? They were safeguarding us from today, right? Right now, we're paying 5.5% easily with a good rate.
Yep.
And we were stress tested back in the day. That being said, the stress test continues. What do you think about that?
I mean, for me, not to get political, Eddie, I do like the stress test. I like the stress test from the fact that if I'm able to meet X guideline, which is either contract rate, meaning the rate that your bank or your lender will give you. So let's say last year you were getting a rate of 1.97 fixed with whomever, you would now have to go ahead and then get stress tested at what the Bank of Canada rate was, which at the time was 5.25%. Now today, because they've raised prime so much, I believe we're sitting somewhere just under 6.
Yep.
And so now you're qualifying at 6 or contract rate plus 2, which in the best 5-year rate I've seen is 5.35 at the Green Bank. So you'd be in theory qualifying at 7.35.
7.35.
There you go. So now that you've got
sorry to cut you off in here, but some people might not know what qualifying. So layman terms, what does that mean exactly?
Qualifying means basically the money you got.
Correct.
And there's two things that banks look at. It's something called TDS and GDS, total debt service. Total debt service, of course, is everything that you have. So all of your debts, plus your house, your cars, credit cards, lines of credit, everything. The gross is basically just your mortgage. So those are the two numbers that the bank looks at, and you basically have to fall under certain numbers. So in other words, it could be for some lenders, that number is 50% of your income can go towards your mortgage, and 50% can go towards your total everything else.
Right.
So that's where you get the term 50-50 from. You have lenders that also do 45-45, 48-48. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're less than 20% down, the numbers for you are politely 39 and 44,
Correct.
which you can see is so much less.
Correct. But with the stress test in general, I'm guessing what they're saying is that we're going to give you a rate at 5.25%, for example, from the Green Bank, but we want to make sure that you're able to pay if it goes up to 7.
If we go up another 2 points,
Correct.
Exactly.
And that's a reality because the rates were going so high. But circling back to it, and you explained it really, really well. So thank you for that. That's very helpful. Now, I know you don't have a crystal ball, and you hate these questions. I know you know what I'm going to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what I'm going to ask.
I'm ready.
Right? So where are the rates going, man?
Where are the rates going?
What's happening?
Look, if I had a crystal ball, first of all, I'd own an island, and I wouldn't be here. Not in
Still
Canada.
be here.
Well, yeah, you're right. I probably would be here. For me, I think the rates will go down, but it will take time. So if we look back on the history of any recessions over the past 100 years in Canada, the earliest any type of rate drop has occurred, based on what I've read, is 18 months from the initial rate increase. So for those of us forgetting, this whole shebang started March this year. So if we do 18 months, that's March next year, and then 6 months forward, which puts us into fall of 2023. Now, that also doesn't mean that the Bank of Canada is going to say, okay, we're going to drop it 100 bips, which is 100 basis points, which is 1 full percent. It's might, if it's going to be anything, a quarter.
Correct.
And then it all depends on things that we can't control. Is there going to be another geopolitical instance? Is there going to be is China going to get involved with Russia, with Ukraine? Is China going to go attack the US? Is Canada going to attack China? These are things nobody truly knows. And when we start looking at outside forces, our oil conglomerate, oil producing countries, OPEC, they obviously have a finger on the button in terms of how inflation is calculated over here, because if they don't want to increase the barrels, that means barrels are scarce, driving up the oil prices, which benefit them, but it doesn't help us.
Correct.
This is obviously why I swear I want a Tesla.
All right, I'm going to put you more on the spot.
Go ahead.
Okay, what does your gut feeling tell you on this?
On my gut
You're an
feeling?
investor yourself. You're a home buyer yourself.
Sure.
What do you feel? What do you think? We're going to see a hike in December? That's pretty much a given. That's a guarantee.
I have some friendly bets with some friends.
Okay.
Dinners.
Okay.
That we're going to see a minimum of 25. I was actually pleasantly surprised that the Bank of Canada chose not to give us a 75 BIP increase in October. I was surprised at 50. The markets kind of were like, whoa. A lot of the opinion pieces written by tremendous writers such as Rob Carrick in the Globe and Mail, Stephanie Hughes from the Financial Post, basically just kind of imply that maybe we don't have that much longer to wait in terms of rate hikes. So those are very smart people. I like them. I like their thought process. So I'm going to join them in saying maybe we've got 25, maybe 50 in December. But if we have 50 this year, which would be a nasty Christmas present, I don't think we're going to have one come the new year, which the first meeting would be in February.
Well,
so I think it'll be a combination of either 25 in December, 25 in February, but 50 overall between the next two meetings, just based on today's information.
So obviously, real estate speaking, the market has contracted, right? Right now, as of when we recorded this, we're in November. October figures came out. Number of sales are down about 50%.
Right.
Now, I'm in the forefront. I'm always active making calls. I'm always dealing with clients, talking to clients, investors. And I feel something very different. I feel like people are somewhat cautious, right? But they're hungry to get into the market. Honestly, like people want to get back to investing. They want to get into buying. And again, I bring in back this level of affordability. A lot of people are on the sidelines. So for somebody who is right now on the sidelines, just waiting in terms of rates, that's the advice you can give. What do you think? Hang on a little bit longer for you to buy, make that investment, or should they be jumping in right now as they are?
Well, I'm gonna reveal what I call Rob's secret to real estate here. And one thing that I've always found, and it's always been weird, and the numbers back this up, is that there sometimes can be such a great deal in December because people aren't looking to move. It's the holidays. So if you're in a position to buy in December after the rate hike, obviously, I say do it. I don't think we have much lower to go, but then you'll also have other people on the other side of the spectrum who think that, this is the bottom falling out and we're going to go back to houses being $500,000. I don't personally share that belief, not because I'm in the industry, but because there would be catastrophic repercussions, like nationally for Canada, because our entire economy, a very big chunk of it, is based off of real estate and what I call the offshoots of real estate. Correct. So construction and investment, things like that. So to me, if I'm sitting on the sidelines right now and I have a pre-qualified offer, I can't stress that enough. Do not go shopping without becoming pre-qualified. I mean, at Perch, we do a full pre-qualification, unlike our friends at the banks, so you know exactly what you can afford.
Amen.
And that is so crucial right now. What you don't want to do is fall in love with a house, bid $800,000, and then kind of wonder, oh wait, how am I going to get $800,000? How am I going to pay this? Oops, I don't have enough down payment. I need a gift. You want to make sure you're prepared. Somebody who's selling a house will always sell to the person that comes with a decent offer, that has their ducks in a row, and that has financing secured.
Correct. That goes a long way. As a listing agent, I interview the buyer's representative, and I ask the questions because I have a knowledge from having friends like Robert. In the mortgage industry, I know what to ask. And when I'm not able to get the answers that I want from the buyer representative, I put a question mark on that offer. Whether it's a hot market or whether the market is cool, nothing sucks more as a listing salesperson to put your house, your listing under contract, say, Robert bought this home, now we have 5-day due diligence period. The homeowners are excited, they're looking for their next home, and then I get a call from Robert's agent saying, hey, you know what, he didn't get the mortgage, he didn't get the financing, right? So 100%. It works both ways, obviously to the advantage of the buyer, but also for the seller. It's just not something nice for you to be doing. It's not correct for you to be shopping without being fully pre-qualified. And that doesn't mean only pulling your credit and getting a letter based on your income.
Right.
What I like about Perch, they look at your pay stubs, look at letter of employment, look at notice of it, everything that pretty much the bank will look at to make a final decision to give you the yes. They look at it up front, so there's no surprises. I hate surprises.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the things that we
surprises.
One of the things that we do at Perch is it's like a safe to bid price. And it's really just meant to give you comfort. Sure. And once you have that comfort, you can put in that offer, knowing that we've looked at everything and that maybe you'll find a little bit more income. I don't know. Maybe you've got, an aunt that has $50,000 for you. That only helps to benefit your situation. It doesn't help if you're wondering, where am I going to get the money from?
Yeah.
So that safe to bid price is one of the things that we do at Perch that, frankly, I mean, it's our part of our pride and joy. But we also have a bunch of free tools. I mean, just even for people who are like looking to get information on what a mortgage could look like, we built something called the Pathfinder. And that Pathfinder allows you to put in criteria of what you want your mortgage to look like. Maybe you want a mortgage with a HELOC on it, which is a home equity line of credit. Maybe you want to be able to port your mortgage or have somebody else assume your mortgage, which is a big thing right now.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to have a crazy $30,000 penalty. We actually factor in the rules from all the banks that we work with, well over 50.
Nice.
And that Pathfinder will actually give you a breakdown on best rate, easiest to break this particular mortgage, the most flexibility. We have like a little flexibility graph, kind of goes from red to green, shows how flexible that particular lender is. And it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome technology. Now, I want to get into the bulk of my clients.
Sure.
And a lot of people right now are in that thought process of refinancing, because I think everyone recognizes that there's good opportunities in the market. There's good buys out there. And I think we're going to get even better buys, right? I think, it's a matter of affordability. The more interest rates go up, they're going to push downward on the price. I don't foresee a massive crash. I agree with you. I think we're going to stay stable, but there's good opportunities for you to get into the mix. That being said, we need the money.
Absolutely.
So Robert comes in. So most of the people, regular strategy, we're going to touch on that soon, pull money, refinance, or get a home equity line of credit, access your equity, and go and invest. That being said, I have a lot of people right now on the sidelines that are sitting at a 2.5 fixed mortgage that they don't want to touch it, man.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what does refinancing look like for these people today? Should they do it? Should they wait? What other options are out there? What are you seeing right now?
Well, truthfully, what we're seeing is everybody's looking for a second mortgage. Everybody and their mother. So a second mortgage is, of course, a second charge on the property that you own. So if you own 123 Fake Street, you have a mortgage with the Red Bank. You would now look to go to a private lender to get a second mortgage, or a bank for a second mortgage for those that offer them. And from there, that's how you're pulling out the equity without touching that 2.5% really great interest rate that you don't want to touch. And again, it also comes down to cost of borrowing, because sometimes, even though you have a 2.5% interest rate, if you've got $100,000 worth of credit cards, car leases, other things that you need to pay off, and those interest rates vary from 19 to 24, 19 to 27%, depending on how much that carrying cost applies for that individual, it may make sense to break the mortgage at today's rate.
Of course, that's right.
So this is why it's really important to, again, talk with either one of Perch's mortgage advisors or myself personally to get a sense of what your particular situation is, because everybody's situation is different. Nobody's situations are the same.
Absolutely. And talking about private lending for a second, up to 80%, what are we looking at right now?
Right now, because we do, again, have our own funds at Perch, we are doing 899, which is actually pretty competitive in this, with a 3 to 4% fee, lender fee, and that can be added on to the physical loan. So therefore, the client doesn't pay anything out of pocket. It's all based off of the equity existing in their home.
That's excellent. That's what we're seeing right now. A lot of people don't want to break that mortgage. It's too good. They have a long-term going, but there's still options out there.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a matter of sitting down with somebody who is investment focused, because not every mortgage agent they have the knowledge, but they don't have the experience in putting these deals together.
Fair.
And not every agent can connect you to the mortgage person that has that experience to do so. So I think that's where it comes in, to talk to the right people, and you'll get the right answers, because there's definitely opportunities for you to tap into the equity. And sometimes, and it happens all the time, people get fixated on the interest rate.
It's true.
Right? They think I have such a good rate, but maybe, as you said, they're paying 20% worth of credit card debt, and they want to hang on to this 2.5%, but maybe it's better just to bite the bullet and amortize everything over 30 years at a medium type of rate.
Exactly. And then the other side of that, Eddie, is, again, even if you're looking at a second mortgage, again, a second mortgage doesn't have to be through a private lender. Again, I love to push Equitable because, again, family to me, they have a great HELOC in second position. Now, granted, they have to hold the first, but Home Trust also has a great home equity line Visa product, so that will go behind a big bank as well. So that's something that has a lesser interest rate. And if you're going from paying 19 to maybe 11, 12, that interest savings can help with your carrying costs and help you pay down your debt faster if you're disciplined.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
It can also, again, emergency fund,
Correct.
Groceries, like whatever it is that you happen to need.
Correct. Well, that's what I like about the HELOCs. Like, if you can get one, I think it's usually the best product, because let's say you're out there and you just want to be hunting for a deal, but you haven't found that deal.
Correct.
Right? You don't want to start making payments on a second mortgage right away.
No, you don't.
But you have that line of credit open that might even be a little bit better of a rate, and it's there when you need it if you find the right opportunity. Some people might not even jump into the market. but at least you're ready. At least you have the funding ready and you can use
Absolutely.
it and pay if you use it. If not, then no harm done.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that people need to remember now is that when you're applying for a HELOC, now you're being amortized, whereas you were not before. So the regulator decided to make a change. I believe it was late last year or early this year, just because we had a ridiculous, I think it's like close to $1 trillion worth of open HELOC space.
Oh, wow.
And so, obviously you don't want to collapse the banks, if everybody maxes theirs out, what's going to happen, who's making the payments. And a home equity line of credit is often paid by interest only. But now they want you to qualify at principal and interest to make sure you can afford it. And they will actually only give you based on what you can afford on principal and interest.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of safeguards. And
you have to.
Yeah. I mean, you have such a big market. And I think that's part of the reason why we're not in as much trouble as our friends were down south back 10, 12 years ago. It's a different topic. But
it is a different topic. What I will say on that, though, very quickly, Eddie, is that was due to the adjustable rate mortgage, which we do also have in Canada. But the challenge is that there was no checks and balances happening back then. You had people making minimum wage somehow buying a palatial 4-bedroom with a swimming pool in Florida, making $10 an hour.
You see all the memes, all the videos, all the jokes, right? But it's true.
That's what it was.
It's insane, right? It's never been like this. It's never. I remember bringing deals to you back 4 or 5 years ago, and you say, "Well, we have to prove the income." Like even on an alternative lending side, which
Absolutely.
they're a little bit more flexible, a lot more flexible actually. But they always want to make sure there's money coming in for the payment to be made, and that's what it boils down to, right?
Absolutely. If you can't make your mortgage payment, then you shouldn't really have the house.
Correct, 100%. Finally. Final question for investors. Okay.
Sure.
The Burr method. Okay. Talk to me about that right now.
So, at Perch, we take a bit of an intriguing perspective with people that choose to want to flip or have the ability to get houses at under market value.
Yep.
So, for example, we work with a subset of investors that specialize in this. And what we do at Perch is that if they're able to get a home at undervalue. Obviously, we do an appraisal to make sure we've got our checks and balances there. We will actually lend up to 85% of the projected new value, so post-renovation value, to the investor at Perch. And I know that we're one of the very few people that are actually doing this.
Is that something that you use your own funds for?
We use our own funds for
So it's more of a private or...
Yeah. So it's definitely with our opportunity fund.
Okay.
But again, very sophisticated in the sense that we're also validating income, but not so much in the sense that, hey, we're looking for a T4. We want to make sure that you can make your payment.
Correct. Of course.
And we want to make sure that, it's a good project. What we don't want is we don't want a dilapidated house where you're saying, I'm going to really just strip it all down. It's going to take 2 years. No, we're looking for, again, the guys that are looking to just, again, buy and rehab and get out very quickly, within that 6 month to 12 month period. We're able to go ahead and advance them, therefore saving cash flow.
Correct.
For them, so they don't have to use as much as their own funds.
Correct.
Almost able to get the whole thing financed, which they love.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Robert, you are a wealth of knowledge.
I try.
I think you brought a lot of value to our viewers here, and it's always great to connect with you.
Absolutely, buddy.
Anything you want to add before I close off here?
Well, look, if you are somebody who's just interested in having a mortgage conversation, what we specialize at Perch is a no-pressure approach. So I would love to have a conversation with you. You're free to give me a call, 647-556-4701. Or you can just reach out to us at myperch.io and shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to look after you.
And personally, I want to thank everyone that's been watching, all the comments, all the feedback, all the questions, because shows like this, they bring a lot of questions. That's what keeps me going. So thank you so much for your loyalty, for your friendship. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. So thank you for the enthusiasm. And Robert, thank you for the amazing content again. Take care.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, Eddie. Have a great day.
You too. Bye for now.